Hi, fellow traders. I am back. If you guys wonder where I've been for the last several days, why you haven't heard from me, I went to this conference in Philadelphia. Awesome conference put on by E.T. or Eric Thomas or E.T. the hip hop preacher. However you know him, if you know him, this is the guy that I can say is responsible for me being who I am. Because if it hadn't been for his Thank God It's Mondays and those videos that he put out every week, brought me through some dark times, helped show me that it's not too late to reinvent your life. It's not too late to go after the goals and dreams that you had when you first started. And I'm telling you, I would not be talking to you right now. I would not be Average Joe Trader if it wasn't for this guy. So this was the first time I was able to go to one of the conferences. Really enjoyed it. Got to meet him. Got to shake his hand. It was a magical experience. But a lot of the stuff I learned, I'll be implementing and incorporating it into what I do here in Average Joe Trading. You know, my whole goal as we continue to move forward is to add value to your investment. You invested in me, you invested in Average Joe Trading to gain education. And my goal is to continue to add value to that investment. Not take away, but to add value. So I'm going to continue to do that and continue to work hard to help you guys achieve what I've achieved. And I know all circumstances are different, times are different, the market's different than when I started. But if you implement the same principles, the same strategies, and you're consistent with it, guys, you can get there. You have to see it. Now, you got to understand, you're not the only one trying to trade all these markets and make money. No, there are thousands of other people like us, average Joes like us, trying to make this money. They all have dreams. They all have goals. So we have to separate ourselves from them. So how do we do that? How do we separate ourselves from that big clump, those masses of thousands of traders like us going for the same thing? Because it's in a way, it's us against them as well as it's us against ourselves. Now, you can try to outwork them, but that doesn't work. Just because you put in more hours than the next person doesn't ensure your success, because that doesn't ensure that you know how to implement whatever you've learned in the market. It's not how much money you put in your account, because a lot of times the more money you put in, the more you lose. So the money you have doesn't really translate to success. It's not how much equipment you have or how many trading tools you have. None of that translates into success. The only way we can separate ourselves from everybody else is through execution. It's how well we execute. Most traders can't make money because they can't execute. They can't execute the simple strategies that they learn in the market. It's tough. I mean, it's the hardest part of trading. It's what I've been saying since day one. Learning the strategies, simple, easy. If the stock breaks this level, you enter. Here's where you put your stop. Here's where you put your profit targets. Easy. The hard part is executing that plan. Actually letting it work. Not taking it off too early. Not stopping out too early. Not taking your stop off and letting it blow you up. Those are the hard things that we have a hard time just leaving well enough alone. So in other words, the main reason we're not successful oftentimes is us. We, at the end of the day, we have to look ourselves in the mirror and say, what didn't we do? If we had a bad day, what didn't we do right? Where did we mess up? Because ultimately, the only person between you and making money is you and the click of your mouse or your hot button or whatever you use. So we're moving into the trading reinforcement component in the Roadmap to Success. Brand new segment starts this Wednesday. This is where the rubber is going to meet the road. If you've had challenges being consistent, if you have been unable to follow the plan I laid out for you guys, if you haven't been disciplined enough, if you haven't sent me, picked up Skype and had a session with me, and you're sitting there on 6 hours of mentoring sessions and your membership runs out this month, and I haven't talked to you one time, and you're trying to figure out why you're not successful, come join us on Wednesday. Or if you can't come to the class, watch the video. Now, I'll have it posted that evening. And really understand what it takes in order to get to that next level. Now, a lot of you guys, it took a minute to beat it into you that you needed to start from square one. Doesn't matter how much you know, how much time you put in this. Time is irrelevant. What's relevant is what can you execute in the market. And if you spent 2 or 3 years learning stuff that you can't even execute, you're wasting your time. So we're going to be focusing on all of that. It's going to get real intense. But this is where we're at right now. And this is what's going to get those of you that are still struggling, this is what's going to get you over to the next level. All right, so let's take a look at my trades from today. That's not what I want to do first. My slides are messed up. Hold on one second. We'll do this last. All right. So we'll quickly look at where I'm at for the month. It's been a really slow month. Last week was a very slow week. I didn't really take any trades out of this account on Thursday or Friday. And you can see today we started out, you already see what we ended up with today, a red day. But the market really had me stumped today. It really messed with my head a little bit. And we'll talk more about that here in a minute. But for the month, we're at 673.94. And I've only traded 5 days to get this, so I'm okay with it. We just a slower start to the month. That's all it is to it. It's not going to be this way. We're going to keep picking up. The problem, I feel, was all centered around this trade deal. The market is not selling off cleanly or moving up cleanly. It's just a lot of chop, and it makes it hard for trend traders like myself to make a decent profit. Now, if I was sized up and I could take smaller moves and make a lot of money, but we're not sized up. The average person is not going to be, individual person is not going to be sized up like that. It just doesn't make sense to put that much risk out into the market. I don't care how confident you are. There's a fine line between what we do and insanity. And that's breeding on the insanity. And I don't trade these low dollar, low float stocks. I just don't trade those. Some people were asking me today about what was that stock? RKDA. We looked at it this morning. There were no shares to short. It was on margin restriction. Off limits to me. Off limits, because I know that's a stock that can blow you up. Now, you can get in and out real quick, but if something happens and you don't, it's going to hurt. So that's where we are. This is what the equity curve looks like. You know, we're kind of starting to make that turn and flatten out a little bit. So looking for this week not to go back down, because that's where we are right now. If we plot this, just to continue to make that march up to 30K. I want it to be there by the end of this month, but we'll see. You know, I'm not going to dwell on it, but that's kind of my goal, is to be through this 30K by the end of this month. All right, now let's take a look at what we did today. Bye-bye, this was a nice look. I was a little late getting in because I don't know if you remember this MNST. This was the earnings trade I took on Tuesday, and I've held it all this time. It was only 50 shares, so it was cash. I wasn't using any margin. It's a long position, so it's cash. I don't mind holding cash positions in ROKU. That's no big deal. You don't get charged anything. But if you hold a short position, you're going to be using margin, and they're going to tax you on it. So it was no big deal holding 50 shares in cash. But what happened was this morning, I was trying to get in BABA with 300 shares, and I could only get in 2 because it was declining me because I had 50 shares. I didn't have enough buying power. So I was a little bit late getting in and probably would have taken profit down here. But my target was right here at 155.50. I got in a little bit too late, so I couldn't really do it. But had I got in here, especially with the size that I wanted to, I definitely would have taken profit down here. And this would have been a profitable trade, but it wasn't. It ended up stopping me out. But not a big loss, 151.87. But then when I compounded it with MNST, which we'll look at a little bit in a minute, we'll talk about that. That's a little hole for me to start out the morning in. So it wasn't a really nice waking, coming into the market. But this was a good setup. There was absolutely nothing wrong with this setup. It is one of those that just didn't follow through. I should have been able to take profit had I gotten a better entry, but I didn't. It's one of these that had a little late entry, and it turned on me. So I can't complain about that. I wouldn't complain about it. I just chalked that up as one that didn't work. ROKU, this one made this huge run up. I actually got in a swing trade on this, jumped in early, so I wouldn't have to worry about trying to get in at the open, and was really pumped up with this big move. We had a pullback, and I went to get in on the pullback, and this thing just did not go. I held on to it for a minute. I mean, it stretched me almost to the point of having to take this off. But we never made that low. And I ended up catching a piece here up around 136. And then this thing rolled back over and took me out. I mean, just like that. And it did not trade worth 2 cents the rest of the day. I mean, very, very frustrating. But I did get a couple of dollars back. But the market just really didn't feel inviting to me. I was uncomfortable in it. So I decided not to try to trade anymore. I mean, I could have got short. It was setting up short. Would have been a nice short trade. But I just made that decision not to trade anymore. I'm going to have to stick to my discipline. I'm actually masking some problems by trading my way out of it. And I don't want to do that. I need to fix these issues before I move forward. Because this is what's going to help me be more efficient in my trades and actually book more money. And that's what it's all about. So ended the day 182.96 after taking a hit on MNST. Now, had I not taken this hit, I probably would have re-engaged and tried to trade a little bit more. But I was just, I felt that was a little bit emotional at that point. So just left it alone. And here's MNST. This is where I got out today. It was coming down, and I ended up having to sell that position, that long position I had, which was right here, right under 56. Very disappointing because Friday, if it had hit Friday when I had the opportunity to take it, it got all the way up to 62, almost 63 Friday, pre-market. But I was in a Uber heading to the place. By the time I got there and logged in, I missed it. So there wasn't anything I could do. But I left it to see if we would get a gap today. We didn't, so had to eat it. So that was $120. And you could see 121.72. Now, this was where we traded earnings on Tuesday. Did just what I wanted it to do. We had the sell-off going into the close. And so I bought, looking for the bounce. All the numbers I saw were good. The only issue was this deal with Coke, because Coca-Cola owns a big chunk of them, and they put out a competing drink, which doesn't really make sense. And there was rumors that Coca-Cola was going to dump their shares of MNST and all of that. So I think that's what caused it. The numbers didn't cause it to do this. I think that, and saying that the numbers will probably go down and this probably will happen. So I figured, okay, by the time people realize that what this BS is, we will get a bounce and we may get back to where we need to be the next day. And that's the reason why I held it. Plus, I was in cash. So, didn't have any problem with that. But as you can see, it didn't come back. The next day, it did make a run up on Thursday. But I was traveling that day, and I did get in the room around 10:30 or 11, but it just wasn't there for me to take profit. It wasn't where it needed to be. Like I said, Friday morning pre-market, it got there where I could have taken it off, but it didn't hold it, and the timing just wasn't there. So I ended up having to eat that. And Roku today, here was the swing. Now, I let the market scare me out of this. And this is something that I feel bad about it, because this was a swing trade. I should still be in this. I should not let intraday movement affect my swing trades. But the market just didn't feel right. And it felt like the thing could tank at any minute. And this thing worked so good. And this is a big reason why I don't like to day trade the stocks that I'm swing trading. Because then I'm looking at it, and in the back of my mind, I know I'm in a swing trade. And all of that got into my head and caused me to take this thing off. Now, I did make $1,500 on it, but right now, it's all the way back up around 135. It's all the way back up here. And, I feel like a dunce that I let the market really get into my head like that. So this is why I always say, don't watch the intraday chart when you're trading, when you're swing trading, or when you're doing all-day holds. Because even if I was doing an all-day hold, I shouldn't have been looking at the chart And don't worry about what the market's doing. Just get in it, let it go. It's either going to work or it's not. And that's the whole thing behind this. But didn't work and ended up only getting $1,500. I think at one point I might have been up $4,000 on this, if my math is right. I got in at 123 and it got 129, and it got all the way up to like 136. So that's 7 times 5, about $3,500 that I was up at one point. So I mean, luckily I didn't see it when it was happening, because I would have probably taken it off knowing what I was doing today. But this was a mistake. I should never have taken this thing off. And I thought about it saying, hey, just get back in. But by then it didn't make sense for a swing trade. I just really hurt myself on this. The only thing that will make me feel good is if I wake up tomorrow and this thing is gapped down to like 125. And then I'd probably feel better about it. But right now I really feel bad about what I did. So not, even though this is $1,500, I'm not happy about it. Not happy at all. All right, so that's my day. That's gonna do it. I'm gonna give you some more information tomorrow. I didn't want to make this video too long because I had to cover a lot of stuff, but I'll give you some more information tomorrow about the upcoming class. And like I said, I've got a couple people that may be rotating out. I don't know if they're gonna re-up or what. We're still talking about that, but probably we'll have some more openings come up, and I'll let you know tomorrow as well. So you guys have a great night, a great evening, and I will catch you tomorrow. And with the camera working, you may even see me tomorrow.